Hello and welcome to Mind Over Music. In today's episode, we are covering the social factor we outlined in episode 1. Now, what that means is asking the question of why. Why do people listen to music? According to the definition, it's because it's meant to bring pleasure to our ears and our brains, which, when you apply it on a larger scale, would be why do people listen to the same artist? Why am I listening to 3 albums from Led Zeppelin instead of only the first album from 10 different artists? And on top of that, why are you listening to 4 artists that all have a very similar sense of music? And now an interview with a South African anti-apartheid journalist, activist, and now civil rights lawyer on the subject of music's effect on society. We have a very special interview with Ingrid Lewin, an anti-apartheid activist and journalist, as well as a human rights lawyer in South Africa for roughly 30 years. Ingrid, if you want to tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for seeing me and having me on your show this afternoon. I grew up in a very typical South African home during apartheid. When I was born, that's when the National Party came into power, and so by the time I was while I was growing up, it was very much in force, and there were a few influences in my life that took me from being a typical white South African with all the privileges to becoming the human rights activist and the contribution that I hope I was able to make to liberation of the country. As I say, my first real engagement, funnily enough, is a musical one, which happened when I was about 10 years old. It was 1958. The apartheid government had been in place since 1948, and some very brave white entrepreneurs, theatrical entrepreneurs, brought a stage show to the University of the Witwatersrand Great Hall, called King Kong. It was an all-black cast, and it featured all black South African music. Now, I know that sounds strange, but I didn't know then that I didn't know there was such a thing as black South African music. I mean, in our home we played music a lot, and there was always music playing in our home, and we listened to Al Jolson, who was black. We listened to Ray Charles, who was black. We listened to Little Richard, who was black. But it was all rock and roll. It was all American music. Here was the stage play that really changed my whole thinking about music. It was absolutely wonderful. If we've got time, perhaps we can play a few clips listed.
Wow, that's a great story, and thank you for your time. I just have one last question. Do you think in this modern day it is just as vital for musicians and the music industry to stay politically vocal, or do you think maybe we should be leaving it maybe to people who are more politically versed than music artists?
Well, you see, the thing is that I think people who are famous, whether they are musicians, whether they are actors or actresses, I mean, one sees in America the amount of sway that Hollywood has on politics and protest and so on. And I think when you get musical groups like Kneecap, standing up for Palestine, and other musicians who are, who sing politically motivated songs to big audiences, that does change people. It might be slow,